Hi everyone. So this is our first paper of ethics. So here we are going to discuss the answers. Let us begin with the first question. So the first question says, given below are two quotations. For each of these, bring out what it means to you in the present context. ठीक है, हमें quotation दी हुई है, इससे हमें समझना है कि हमें क्या समझ आता है, हमें ये बताना है. तो golden rule, the question is, the golden rule of conduct is mutual toleration. Seeing that we will never all think alike and we shall always see truth in fragments and from different point of vision. ठीक है, मतलब इससे क्या समझ आता है कि हमारे लिए सबके लिए ट्रुथ अलग है और हम ट्रुथ को फ्रेगमेंट्स में देखते हैं. स्टिल हमारे लिए गोल्डन रूल क्या होना चाहिए? कंडक्ट इज़ अ म्यूचुअल टॉलरेशन. सो अब हमें इससे क्या समझ आया? सबसे पहले बताएंगे द गिवन स्टेटमेंट इम्प्लाइज अ कंस्ट्रक्टिविस्ट व्यू ऑफ द ट्रुथ. तो क्या है? सबसे पहले लिखा हमने क्या है? ये कंस्ट्रक्टिविस्ट व्यू ऑफ ट्रुथ है विच कैन हैव डिफरेंट मीनिंग बेस्ड ऑन द डिफरेंट परसेप्शन. डिफरेंट मीनिंग है सबके लिए डिफरेंट परसेप्शन के बेस पे एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग के बेसिस पे. सिमिलर स्टडी हैज़ बीन डन बाय द स्कॉलर. दो स्कॉलर का नाम लिया है फॉकल्ट एंड दरीदा टू फाइंड द अकोमोडेटिव मीनिंग बिहाइंड द वेरियस डिस्कोर्सेस. Now, since it is being given by the Gandhiji, so we'll quote him. So, Gandhiji was spiritual person who advocated truth, satyagrah, instance on the truth, to conduct his personal and the political life. A person can be tolerant only if he or she has a persistent audacity to see the instant of the truth, rationality, and mutual respect for different viewpoints. जैसे फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात करें तो इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑल्सो रिकोगनाइज द वैल्यू ऑफ टॉलरेशन प्लूरलिज्म एज अ बुलवॉक ऑफ इंडियन सोसाइटी. नाउ द क्वेश्चन सेज इन द टुडेज ओके इन द प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट. ठीक है, क्वेश्चन हमसे बोल रहा है कि प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट में आपको इससे क्या समझ आता है, तो उसकी डिमांड को फुलफिल करने के लिए वी विल आंसर इट दिस वे. सो टुडे वी कैन we see rising instances of mob lynching, intolerance in society, and the religious fundamentalism. The value of mutual toleration and satyagrah find even more importance globally to address the diverse non-conventional threat among differing nations to deal with climate change. Non-state actors, we need accommodation and mutual toleration as a global golden rule of conduct. So this is our conclusion. ओके, सो सबसे पहले हमने बताया कि what does the statement implies. So it is constructivist view of truth which have different meaning, perception on the basis of perception understanding. Then we quote two scholar Fogelt and Derrida. After that we talked about Gandhiji, how he was he advocated truth in his personal political life. After that we quoted Indian constitution. Then we talked about today's instances, how mob lynching, intolerance in society, religious fundamentalism, all these are causing different problems. And then we talked about global issue like a non-conventional threat, and for that we need a mutual toleration as a global golden rule of conduct. Now moving on to the next question. Since we have to discuss the whole paper, so that's why I'm recording it in a hurry. You can watch it at 1.5x or even if you want to finish it more earlier. So this is how you can see it. Okay, so let's start with the second question. It says the mind of superior man is convergent with righteousness and the mind of mean man is convergent with gain. ठीक है, जो सुपीरियर मैन होगा उसका माइंड कैसा होगा? राइट चीज़ की तरफ देखेगा, लेकिन जो मीन मैन होगा वो हमेशा गेन देखेगा. ठीक है, अब इसको हमें बताने इस स्टेटमेंट से हमें क्या समझ आता है. द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ कन्फ्यूशियस tries to explain the fact that the well-formed great mind, a man with sound ethical framework, would always be guided by the courage and righteousness. ठीक है, वही एक्सप्लेन कर दिया जो हमें क्वेश्चन में गिवन है. On the other hand, the narrow-minded person would simply limit himself to a simple cost-benefit analysis in a given situation. We can give the example of लाल बहादुर. यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल देंगे लाल बहादुर शास्त्री जी का. How he was a great humblest politician and leader who took righteous path by taking responsibility of loss of the lives under the tenure as a railway minister. He resigned from the post, although nowhere it was his legally required for him to do so. In next example, we can quote another global leader like Stalin. He took narrow perspective of the thing in USSR during the tenure as a president. cultivated centralized force leadership, which further exacerbated the hardship of the economically downtrodden people. His narrow-minded tended to run after power, foregoing the larger welfare of the people. This quality specially hold true for civil servant, who is supposed to take an impartial, conscientious right path given the challenge and dynamic nature of his job to resolve the ethical dilemmas such as public over private sphere. ठीक है, सबसे पहले हमें ये मीनिंग बताना है क्वेश्चन में, जो भी हमें लाइन दी हुई है उसका मीनिंग बताया कैसे, करेज इन राइटियस पर्सन एंड अबाउट द पर्सन हु इज़ मीन. ठीक है, उसके बाद हमने एग्जाम्पल दे दिया लाल बहादुर शास्त्री का एंड स्टैलिन का. आफ्टर दैट वी कैन कोट इट विद सिविल सर्वेंट से कैसे ये लिंक्ड है. ठीक है, now moving on to the next question. It says impersonal management, a characteristic feature of a Weberian bureaucracy, develop over time into indifference, especially with regard to the weaker section of the society. Critically analyzed. ठीक है, ये बोल रहा है कि impersonal management, a characteristic feature of Weberian bureaucracy. ब्यूरोक्रेसी किस बारे में, वेबेरियन जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी है टॉक्स अबाउट न्यूट्रलिटी. ठीक है, तो इसको हम इस कंटेक्स्ट में अगर हम एनालाइज करें तो Max Weber, he was a great scholar who gave the ideal type. He gave ideal type model of the sound, impartial and efficient bureaucracy. Impersonal management simply correspond to the impartial and neutral nature of the civil servant. Example, instance of giving preference to public over the private sphere, organization over personal gain. It helped maintain the meritocracy and efficiency. However, impersonal management should always be coupled with the application of concise. ठीक है, फिर हम बोलेंगे कि वो concise के साथ couple होना चाहिए. In a country such as India, we see presence of 28% of population in multi-poverty deprivation. To meet the need of the constitutionally mandated social justice text, Article 46 के according, adherence and indifference isn't right. The classical case here would be the development versus rehabilitation, displacement, national interest versus public interest. In such situation, it is important to use a concise emotional intelligence and impartial attitude rather than being, mere neutrality, bringing the idea of the common good. Nehru once remarked, neutrality in the civil service would bring about fossilization of administration. ठीक है, लास्ट में हम ये कोट करके कंक्लूड कर सकते हैं आंसर को. तो क्वेश्चन हमसे क्या पूछा गया था, इम्पार्शियल होना, लाइक मैक्स वेबर की थ्योरी है. ठीक है, सबसे पहले हमने बताया कैसे इम्पार्शियलिटी वर्क्स. आफ्टर दैट वी ऑल्सो हैव टू क्रिटिकली एनालाइज द क्वेश्चन ना. सो हमें बताना पड़ेगा कि कैसे हमेशा इम्पर्सनल होना भी काम नहीं करता. हाउ वी नीड टू थिंक थ्रू आर कंसाइज एंड emotional intelligence, impartial attitude is important. After that, you can conclude it accordingly. Now, moving on to next question, it says, in the pursuit of political power, means are often compromised that lead to competitive reliance on unethical practices, resulting in erosion of the public trust. ठीक है, कि पॉलिटिकल पावर गेन करने के चक्कर में व्हाट पीपल डू, दे टेक अनएथिकल प्रैक्टिसेस, जिसकी वजह से इरोजन हो जाता है पब्लिक ट्रस्ट का. ठीक है, तो इसको कोट सबसे पहले वी कैन इंट्रोड्यूस आवर आंसर बाय गिविंग टू स्कॉलर्स लाइक मैकियावेली एंड कौटिल्य. दे सेड देयर इज़ नो प्लेस ऑफ एथिक्स इन पॉलिटिक्स. However, this isn't always true. The political power is a position of popular sovereignty where government act as a trust holding public faith to compromise the means and resorting to unethical practice such as bribe, collusion access with corporate freebies, persuasion, playing religious and the caste politics. This stains the political image and integrity of the politicians. Gandhiji's examples of the convergence of the mean and end is a guiding light in the time made with increased political expenditure. However, there are some instances where unethical means not always result into the favorable result. A study shows that Indian population, despite receiving the freebies, laptop, cash, choose to vote according to their requirement. Thus, there is a hope of light in the tunnel with rising middle class and the young energies of the rising demographic dividend, which form rational choices. Election Commission of India, Supreme Court and Government of India has taken many steps to root out the culture of the corruption in electoral politics. It is time that a common man also ensure civic participation to beat the commercialization of politics in India. So this is your good conclusion. Moving on to the next question. It takes more than a corporate governance policy to inspire ethical behavior and sustain a truly ethical workplace. Discuss. सबसे पहले आपको बताना पड़ेगा what is corporate governance. Corporate governance is the art of conducting day-to-day operation of a company with an internal and external stakeholders. What are the policies of corporate governance? The Companies Act 2013 has been formulated to ensure that board of director to look over the transparent, fair governance and transaction among shareholders and employees. Committees such as Uday Kotak Kumar Mangalam has further strengthened the corporate governance by constituting the independent directors, 50% at least, one being the women. In Jyoti Srinivas, company recently advocated for better utilization of uh, corporate companies fund social accountability. उसके बाद However, to be truly ethical and inspiring, corporate governance को क्या ज़रूरत है? एक तो compassionate capitalism होना चाहिए कंसेप्ट, जैसे कि मिस्टर नारायण मूर्ति के फोकसिंग ऑन 3 P's, people, profit and planet. फिर सेकेंड ARC also stipulated a code of ethics under the company's law with proper soft skill training and quarterly assessment and test. Social responsibility under CSR fund disbursal should be wholeheartedly taken. फिर आप कंक्लूड कर सकते हो बाय सेइंग द कॉर्पोरेट नीड टू बी एजेंट ऑफ द चेंज फॉलोइंग सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ प्रिंसिपल एज फॉलोड बाय द बिल एंड मेलिंदा गेट फाउंडेशन, टाटा ट्रस्ट एक्सेट्रा टू मेक द इंडिया अचीव एन इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ which is according to the SDG 8. Moving on to next question. Law should be so succinct that it can be carried in the pocket of the court, and it should be so simple that it can be understood by a peasant. Discuss. ठीक है, तो लॉ इज़ अ स्टेटमेंट. सबसे पहले आपको डिफाइन करने का व्हाट इज़ लॉ. लॉ इज़ अ स्टेटमेंट ऑफ रीजन टू अचीव द कॉमन गुड बाय अ सोवरेन. Since the ultimate goal of the law formulation is a public interest and welfare, its understandability and awareness form the most crucial pathway to achieve it. A legal framework should be so compact, succinct, that it can be compressed and carried along in opposed to the complex lawyer's paradise. It should also be very simple to understand, given for a country like India, where only 78% literate people are present. We can quote the global example of US plain writing art, which mandated federal agencies to write rules regulation in clear, succinct and legible manner. The Indian constitutional and legal framework is sometimes criticized for its voluminous, complex nature. It discourages the most vulnerable section to access the justice. The justice delayed is justice denied. Example, the land tending laws and dispute is full inconclusive clause in opacity. Thus, to ensure the justice, economic, political, and social, as envisaged in Preamble and Article 46 of the Constitution, the government should work toward ensuring the accessibility and readability of the law. Moving on to the next question, it says ethics in international relation has potential to cater to the diplomatic challenges of 21st century. Ethics in international relations. So सबसे पहले you have to explain what is ethics in international relations. So ethical international relation constitute the art of conducting the foreign relation which create a harmony between the national interest and the ethical human values. Now it has to cater the challenges of diplomatic challenges of 21st century. So 21st century politics is a characterized by presence of the great number of challenges, few of conventional threats such as resource utilization, new imperialism, terrorism, arm control, peace and sustainable development, and non-conventional. This is conventional threat and then non-conventional threat of climate change and its implication, human security, trans-organized crime, maintenance of law and order, etc. require ethical dimension of various issues to be addressed. UN recognizes the CBDRRC common but differentiated responsibilities between North and the South to form cooperation framework guided by ethics of equality and human dignity. Human Rights Watch report Time to Deliver highlighted the growing menace of global migration, various reasons such as security, climate induced displacement, or civil war due to the great power rivalry, Syria Afghanistan. Thus, global international relation actors need to be guided by humanitarian intervention and ethos of the peace, sustainability, and relinquish the predatory power struggle. A small country such as Vietnam could frame a law for acceptance of the Rohingyas refugee legally are guided example. Next, Nolan Committee provide for one of the most comprehensive statement of what constitute ethical standard for holders of public office. Elaborate. Now, Nolan Committee in UK in study called Probity in Governance formed the bedrock of the ethical standard for the public servant. Now, what are these qualities? First is selflessness, the ability to dissociate the personal interest over the public welfare. Second is honesty, the bulwark of the human character in the public work act of truthfulness, publishing correct data, reporting custodial death due to police negligence. Integrity, the consistency in the speech, thought, and action based on ethical principle. Example, non-corruptible attitude. Openness, transparency with the public and administrative act that ensure faith in the public office of citizen. Accountability, formal answerability on account of the action due to position of the power and discretion. Example, to the senior for for contract public private partnership in road. Objectivity, an objective, emotionally intelligent and impartial assessment of a difficult and a challenging situation. Communal right, banning of movie by public against court order, Padmavati. Then leadership, a visionary inclusion and motivating leaders could push his junior and the staff to perform better personally and professionally. Example, Sagyam Tamil TN, disclosure of asset prompted staff to do same. Now moving on to the next question. The sharper the socio-economic disparities, the greater the incentive toward corruption. Oxfam India highlighted that 1% of the population held 73% of the country's wealth. Such sharp socio-economic disparities coupled with cultural historical factors makes a country den of corruption. Various regions such as lack of an agency, bare minimum sustenance, opportunity deficit, occupational distress, farm sector, inadequate global government support prompt people to go for unethical corrupt mean to fulfill their need. Transparency International highlight that India ranked 78 in 2019, showing high corruption level. The lowest strata and rung of the administration is driven by the slogan corruption is needed to grease the wheel of administration, according to ARC. Globally, the African arc of instability has countries such as Botswana, Ghana, Nigeria facing resource curse and crime marred with unprecedented corruption. We have Afghanistan with lower 0.3 HDI value showing high level of political corruption. As contrast to this, Sri Lanka, our neighborhood with more equitable society, has lower corruption than India. Globally, Scandinavian countries such as Denmark, Sweden have almost zero level of corruption, showing highly equitable standard of living. Inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth is thus need of the hour to weed out corruption, rotting the life and breath of the country, according to Supreme Court. The moral worth of an action depend not on the consequences that flow from it, but on on its motivation. Explain this statement with the help of suitable example. This statement highlight the dichotomy between the means versus end. While deontologists such as Kant Gandhi says that the moral worth of an action depend on the motivation and mean to reach the end, the teleologists such as Bentham Mill held that the end justify the mean taken. The act of killing a thief to prevent house robbery may have saved lives, but action inherently is an immoral action. Similarly, taking bribe from a big businessman to help a poor rehabilitated people in slum might have logical outcome, but the act is wrong. An action guided by wrong motive will always be negative even if it results into a positive spillover effect. Example, deliberately killing a terrorist in custody is wrongly motivated although it's good for the country and national interest. Moral worth of such an action can't be justified. Alternatively, a positively motivated action can bring about a negative effect and still be called moral. Example, a lawyer's profession to defend a murderer in commitment to the rules of the law and his duty if held free, lawyer would not be morally corrupt unless he had an unfair, biased mean. Thus, our thought, purpose, and action should be in harmony to act morally. The universal adoption of the common good approach posed the ethical dilemma of putting collective interest over and above the individual interest. The principle of common good guide an individual ethically to choose an option and act in a particular manner that would bring about a positive change impact in the life of larger section of the people. Individual option 1, some harmed, some benefited. Option 2, collective goods personally benefited. A classical illustration of the situation would be Vinoba Bhave Bhudan movement, where he distributed his own land to promote the collective good. It presents a dilemma where one sacrifices his personal interest over the public good. Similarly, a civil servant whose appraisal is dependent on the successful completion of a road project, demands him to relocate small marginal farmer whose livelihood would be destroyed. The decision of not displacing them and rejecting the tender would be common good approach. Environmental aspect of the issue could be human animal conflict, where an elephant is destroying field but the farmer chooses to not fence the electric barbed wire, rather look for an alternative with forest official. Globally, the rising menace of the refugee crisis and giving humanitarian intervention over narrow national interest is also a common good. Compassion should never be considered as weakness, but rather as an essential element for providing a congenial administrative working environment. Above statement can be aptly understood in the framework of situation of impartiality versus neutrality, bureaucratic rigidity versus democratic ethos. Compassion is an act of, now this is how you are defining the compassion. So compassion is an act of empathizing with others' emotion, deprivation, and troubles. A civil servant needs this quality in a developing country like ours, where more than 48% of population suffer from one deprivation or other. It is not an act of weakness, rather a test of emotional intelligence. It helps in understanding the need of public welfare suitability in a human manner. Rigidly following the rules do not bring about a desired solution to a needful situation. Example, compassion with an old woman stuck in regulatory hurdles to get her pension, displaced people due to dam construction, farmer distress during failed monsoon, or a natural calamity and a consequent standard of uh, SOP for saving the lines. It does create a congenial working environment. NCRB highlighted the report of increasing suicide among the public servant Maharashtra Bengal due to pressure and loss of the public private balance in life. Thus, for a vibrant, efficient, stress frame of India, it is of utmost importance to be compassionate following ethos of human dignity. Next question. Explain what do you understand by the following values and discuss their importance for civil servant. Professionalism. Competence or a skill that is expected of a professional person in his workplace is called professionalism. Conducting the workplace relation without any biasness, laxity, or impersonal behavior is characteristic of impersonalism. A professional ethics of an actor such as Amitabh to reach an on time on set is one example. Playing on field without any ill will or personal rivalries by the sportsperson like Sachin is also professionalism. The impartial, impersonal conduct of a civil servant in home district is also a professionalism. Nishkam Karm. Nishkam Karm is the act of selflessly indulging in an act without the expectation of a return or result. This marks maximize maxim in culturally embedded in our ethos of service to men is service to humanity, or the Gita, which state that one shouldn't be concerned with the outcome of the result. Just put wholehearted effort to the task. It is also said that there is no virtue higher than selfless duty for a public servant, and dedication to duty is the highest form of worship. Gandhiji's Harijan program or Vinoba Bhave's Bhudan are the Nishkam Karm example. Now come the case studies. So, there has been a widespread agitation both in favor of and against extending reservation in education institution and government job to a certain section of the society. You have been appointed as a chairman of a high-level committee constituted by the government to examine the matter and make recommendation. So far, the committee has found no compelling reason to extend reservation to this section. While the report of the committee is pending finalization, you get an impression through the media that government is inclined to accept the demand of for extending the reservation regardless of the findings of your committee. Some member of the committee are also inclined to support the government stand. Discuss the dilemma, if any, that you face in this situation. Next question says, what course of action would you take? Give reason for the same. Next question, also discuss the ethical issues involved with the policy of affirmative action in India. Now, the question is, discuss the dilemma, if any, that you face in this situation. So, Indian Reservation Scheme is the largest affirmative action program aimed to address historical injustice of a medieval discriminatory society toward more equitable egalitarian society. Article 46, Article 15, Article 16. Now, what are the stakeholders involved in this? First section to be given reservation. Second is the media. Third, government. Fourth, other sections, domino effect, and then head and HL committee, the other member. Now answering to the first question, what are the ethical dilemmas? Since the government is inclined to undertake populist measure, it creates a dilemma to favor the political view or undertake an honest objective assessment of the case. Also, the report and the impression is created through media. There is a fear of backlash in case of the negative proposal from the concerned section. Example, JAT agitation. There is also an internal divide among the members that might create a biased report. Now, the second question says, what course of action would you take? Give reason. My course of action is very clearly the one which involves an impartial, honest, and objective analysis free from any political pressure or the media influence merely based on some opinion and news. I will undertake a robust baseline survey to study the conditions, social, education, and economic constitutionally prescribed and find the eligibility parameter and fulfill or not. I would urge my team member to take an impartial and conscientious viewpoint in the preparation of the report. The finding would be properly documented and based on the empirical analysis. I'd suggest the solution to government. Since the committee doesn't find substantive proof, I would write in disfavor the given proposal. If asked by media person, I would adhere to my rule book and conduct rules to maintain integrity of process until the government take a final stand. Now the next question. It says, also discuss the ethical issues involved with the policy of affirmative action in India. Ethical issues in the reservation regime of India. Inclusion error, where affluent, large agri farmer and advanced section get included. Presenting the false document and escaping the creamy layer exception due to non-reporting of the honest income. Exclusion error. A study highlighted only 8% of the ST's population who is needy get employment and and educational opportunities. Absence of creamy layer criteria in the STSC. Nagra judgment. Presence of vacant post and delay in the promotion due to inadequate data collection. Data collection. Fear of revenue discrimination due to breach of 50% quota of reservation comprised to meritocracy. The recently introduced economic criteria, Jarnail Singh case, include 98% of population within 10% bracket. Similarly, 55% of OBC population under 27% bracket. Means of the populist electoral vote bank politics. Pattedar and charts. Fear of Pandora box of demand. Next case study, it says you are an honest and responsible civil servant. You often observe the following. If one want to remain effective and powerful to create impact on the lives of people, one should remain loyal to those in power. The argument tries to portray the fact that loyalty is supreme virtue to attain efficiency, power, and in an impactful work in the public. Merit. Emphasis on the value of loyalty, a feature of permanent executive toward the temporary executive. This will ensure smooth coordination and implementation of policies without the internal friction. It will ensure the smooth career transition without the political pressure and divergence of the interest. What could be the demerit? Blind adherence to loyalty is dangerous. Civil servant is supposed to give neutral advice such as negating farm loan waiving waivers, although it seem a lucrative option. Morally unethical means can never be justified in the name of the loyalty. Hiding the data of the public interest, custodial violence, communal death. Impact on the lives of the people can be created while being politically neutral. Example Ashok Khema, Mr. Sagyam. Next, following the ethical means may not be practical and effective at all times. Merit. Teo- Teleological approach of utilitarian found consonance with the justification of the end over means. Example killing of the mafia criminal to control the urgent public order issue without the due process of arrest and the investigation. Demerit. As Gandhiji said, a wrong mean adopted for a right result is never truly correct. Deontological. In similar example, although the public security is safeguarded in practical manner, the violation of the human right of the criminal and right of the life is never justified. Thus, the perfect harmony of the mean and end would result into a truly perfect act. For practical purpose, the ethical morality can't be made flexible to achieve an objective howsoever the dire need seem. Next question. Petty corruption expedites the service delivery. It is said that corruption greases the wheel of administration according to second ARC. Merit. Although a weed such as corruption can never be positive, yet it seems that petty bribes can expedite the service delivery through level of red tapeism. Example, a pension certificate of an old agreed person. Example 2, steadfast the process of driving license by bribe, culture at RTO, in common way of life. Demerits. Supreme Court has said that the corruption is rotting the life and breath of this nation. The scam of Commonwealth 2G, gold scam, Bofors, adversely impact economy and public welfare. It lead to erosion of the public faith in democratic institution and imbibes a culture of chalta hai. Corruption in every form, any form of any level tackled need to be tackled to truly make our nation great. Japanese culture is an eye-opener. Asian example. Government of India is bringing various law to deal with political, economical, black money and institutionalized measures. Recently, two national level sportspersons who are integral member of their team made some comment in a talk show which were perceived as being grossly misogynist and racist. This created a huge controversy, and they were temporarily suspended from the team pending an inquiry. In light of this event, answer the following question: do you think the public figure have an additional responsibility insofar as expressing their view on matter of public importance is concerned? Give reason. Freedom of expression under Article 19 itself doesn't give a free leeway to defame or pass any grossly inappropriate statement. Restriction in the name of public order, decency, and morality are placed. Stakeholder: media, talk show team, larger public, inquiry head, sports person, public figure. Public figure propound a role model figure, which can sometimes be called Godman's syndrome in our culture. Yes, they constitute a huge responsibility due to following reason: influence on large section of population. Example: Bollywood star Amitabh Bachchan. People look up to them in their everyday life. Example: cosmetic product advertised by celebrity affect the sales usually. Political personalities such as Narendra Modi, J.P. Narayan, Nehru, Gandhi touch upon thousands of dreams with their motivating speech, words, behavioral change. Dr. Kalam inspired hundreds of the students to take up scientific space exploration studies. Recently, even the government of India has taken measures to regulate the indecent and false advertisement of the product, making an ethical onus on the celebrity to promote authentic, responsible use. Consumer Protection Act 1986. Second question says, according to you, what are the reasons that some prominent public figure makes such misogynist comment and even get away without any consequences? Several public figures are said to have commented misogynist and otherwise, but are carried out of the chaos without responsibility because of the multifold reason: influence of power, prestige, and money, lack of clear legal and stringent framework against vocal speech, access to high class corporate lawyer with expertise to drag them out in case of legal dispute. Overall, the declining moral strength and degrading ethos of Indian culture. However, we can't neglect the figures such as Sachin, Amitabh, Dravid, Ganguly, who devoted their lifetime balancing good work and the social prestige, who are an inspiration even for generations to come. Next question says, as a person to change into as a person in charge to inquire into the conduct, what factor would you consider to examine it, and what punishment, if any, would you prescribe in this specific case? As an in charge, I would consider following factor: nature and reach of the show, impact it has on population. Today's context, social media is vital in this context. A mere slip of tongue or genuine intention to cause harm, the action taken by the person and the talk show authorities thereafter. My action would obviously be under the relevant and available legal framework. Since there is no legal explicitly banning such general comment to show cause notice can't be raised, I'd request the person to clear the air by taking moral responsibility of the action on public platform apology. A temporary ban on the sport participation would also set an example. There are a large number of leather industry in a major industrial town of India. They provide employment to large number of people and also prominent source of revenue for the state. Lately, it has been observed that despite following the present emission control rule, the collective ecological footprint of these industries remain quite high, affecting the surrounding area in an adverse manner. The new technology available for emission control are quite costly and thus act as an indistinctive for the owner of the industries for adopting them. In light of the information, the government is contemplating the following options: shutting down the industry in the region, relocating the industry to a new area, making the emission control rules stricter, providing incentive to the industry owner for adopting of a new technology. For a fast growing developing country as India, sustainable development versus economic growth is to be guided by principle of SDG 9. Now, what are the stakeholders? Employees, head like me, then state government, revenue, government, and surrounding area. shutting down industries. What could be the merit? Immediate relief to the pollution issues, earliest option to choose, aid to India's climate committee, Paris Pact. Demerit could be an employment less disaster, laws disaster on the large scale, adverse impact on economic growth, state revenue and fiscal deficit to increase. Relocating. What would be the merit? Solve the problem of given area. Government order would have positive environment impact. Save lives of many due to the pollution. Demerit. Doesn't. ओके relocating to new region. इसके मेरिट क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? सबसे पहले सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ अ गिवन एरिया. गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डर वुड हैव द पॉजिटिव environmental impact, save life of many due to the pollution. Demerit हो सकते हैं doesn't address the root cause of the problem. It will shift the burden to a new area, risking new lives. The revenue loss issue and local unemployment. Option C was stricter emission rules. Merits हो सकते हैं comparatively better option. It will arrest the adverse ecological footprint and save the livelihood of thousands. Demerit हो सकते हैं affect the productivity of the capital deprived sector which can't invest in the higher technologies, affect overall GDP contribution of the sector. Option D was incentive to the owner. इसके merit हो सकते हैं address their resource crunch and funding requirement, incentivize them to shift to green technology. Demerit, the incentives might not be sufficient to arrest the complete requirement. It might take time to show result. Now what would be my choice? So my choice would be blend of option 3 and option 4, which was to uh, implement stricter emission rule and incentivize the owner. So there shall be stringent pollution norms such as ecological footprint too is reported to be quite high by authorities. I'll affect it will affect the India's climate commitment, Paris deal, COP21 SDG, and also risk million of the lives in the neighborhood. WHO air pollution related death quite high in India. Keeping in mind the labor intensive economic growth contribution, it's of utmost importance to support the sunrise sectors, ensuring the livelihood security of workers. Schemes such as capital subsidy, 25% under technology upgradation, market in extension can be provided. It would also be beneficial to provide R&D institutions such as ISRO, DRDO, IASC to undertake research in indigenous innovation intervention which are low cost, thus reducing the import import dependence over the foreign green technology. Platform जैसे कि AIM, Impress, Impact can be utilized to tap the innovative minds of young people. Lastly, capacity building and skilling of the worker would additionally boost the sector. Now the next question says many coal mines in our district subject the worker to inhuman working condition with little safety measures in place. As such, there have been several accidents and many workers have died in the past. In recognition of a recent accident where 15 workers were trapped and died, the National Green Tribunal has ordered for closure of all such mines. Some of them have shut down, but many still continue to operate by getting an exception from the government, sometimes using the unholy nexus of politician, minor bureaucrat. In absence of alternative employment, the local have no other choice but to work in mine. The owner are in fact inciting the worker to protest for to simultaneously put a pressure on the state to completely overturn the ban. As a state district magistrate of this district, you have been asked for by the state government to prepare a report on this issue and give recommendation to resolve it. In this regard, answer the following question. Identify the interest of the state and analyze whether there may be a conflict among them. Second question, given that economic growth is often achieved with a large human cost, identify the principles and strategies which would be used in the given case to achieve the desirable outcome. Now, this case study highlight the deplorable condition of the labor in mining sector facing occupational safety hazard in India. Instances of death due to rat hole mining in northeast, poisonous gas in Chhattisgarh are found. Despite NGT's order, the actual ground condition remain matter of concern. Stakeholder in this are DM, politician, minor, bureaucrats, then families of the dead worker and worker safety. State interest in the given situation are multifaceted. Since India has huge reserve of coal and is dominated by the thermal power, 61% of energy mix, state need to ensure energy security of the country and meet the rising energy demand which is predicted to double by 2030. The mineral exploration potential remain low. Only 10% of the resources are exploited. Thus, state also aim to increase the mining exploration need according to Niti at 2075 potential. The economic growth versus development is conflicted when state also need to ensure livelihood security and right to life of the worker. Under Article 39, state is legally mandated to ensure the employment opportunities, also safety of the labor working there. Our coal mining policy also put onus on the contractor and mines to ensure the protection equipment. Economic growth entailing the huge human cost defeat the purpose of inclusive sustainable growth principle to follow. Social security and insurance provision to the worker in case of mishappening. Sustainable mining in the harmony with the ecological and economic growth. Ensuring right to life and safety of each worker. Responsibilities in case of the death of the director, team, lead or the mining head of the area. A culture of ethics to break the nexus of bureaucrat, politician and miners. Strategies to follow. Use of digital technology to reduce the corruption. Cutting the nexus, bringing transparency, a real time tracking and reporting of the illegal mishappenings, an effective grievance redressal mechanism, and clear cut standard of practice by DGs of the mine safety during accident, miner and contractor to have contractual obligation to ensure the insurance of each life. Dynamite used blasting in open cast mining be replaced with a better advanced hydraulic fracturing. Provisioning of the alternative source of employment in the mining corridor and clusters. Government of India has recently drafted 4 labor code which is a further boost. Recently, you are posted as a district magistrate of predominant agriculture district, which has been one of the best performer in agriculture since the last decade. In one of your field visit, you find that the large landowners who are socially, politically, economically powerful group employ domestic help and agriculture labor who are informally tied to them have been working there since generation. In return, these workers are provided basic amenities like food and shelter apart from some money. However, you do sense a violation of basic human right in this situation. In light of the above case, answer the following question. Identify the stakeholder, their interests, ethical issues involved in the case. How does denial of choice amount to violation of human right? What course of action would you take? Human dignity and freedom form inviolable part of the right to life. Our constitution also ensure the same through Article 23, making it a fundamental right preventing any form of bondage. Stakeholder involved DM myself, group of the large landowners, informed bonded agriculture labor, informal bonded agriculture labor, rest of the district population and farmers. Now, what are the interests? Ensuring the continued district performance, protecting the human right of bonded labor, farmer as per law, course of action that would be beneficial to all. Ethical issues, violation of the human right of informal labor, exploitation by the few large landowners, provisioning the decent standard of living to farmer. Large landowners, interest, profitable production, high performance with minimal cost applied, Ethical issues, bonded labor in any form is wrong, providing only bare sustenance, not a living standard. Informal bonded farmer interest to secure a livelihood and basic amenities. Ethical issues, form of beggar and lack of agency to make choice. Rest of population example to be set in front of all the farmers. Denial of choice amount to refutal of the lack of agency of an individual to make subjected choices. Human right form the essence of the dignity of an individual, providing basic right integral to human life. Using tied labor with mere basic amenities over generation denies them the freedom to go for other work, grow economically, and they are subjected to permanent subjugation of the owner's pecuniary interest. UNHDR also identifies human freedom and self determination as integral part of human right doctrine. My course of action would be as follows. As per my rule book and guided by Article 39, Clause B and C, which prevent concentration of resource within a few and I would form a committee to go through the detailed inspection and field studies for the actual situation. As per the finding of the report, I would consult by my seniors for the further course of action. Since landowners are politically, economically, and socially influential, I'd request a written order from the superiors to send a notice to the landowners stating to provide good livelihood opportunity as per the legal framework and allowing the retirement of the worker who wish to leave. The SP of the area would be intimated to keep force station in case of the mismanagement of social disruption. I would subject I would submit the report to the higher authorities stating my comments clearly. India is signatory to ILO Convention, Covenant of Social Economic Right. The machinery need to dutifully with courage of conviction need to implement same in the true spirit. So this was the last question. We have completed one paper and likewise tomorrow also we are going to discuss another paper. I want you to pause the video and read the question and try to answer them on your own. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any suggestion or anything, please let me know in the comment section below. Okay, thank you so much for watching the video.